So today was meant to be my Monarch upload, but unfortunately, I came to a pretty early realization upon testing the deck list that I prefer to be walking through a field of Lego bricks than continuing to try to make this deck list work. Yeah, it turns out that archetype, it's still pretty doo-doo. Like, very doo-doo. So instead, I decided for the third day running, I'd just upload another water deck list. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before getting to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of you are watching this or even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even clicked that subscribe button yet. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content and will see more videos just like this from me in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. So the first thing you're probably going to notice before anything else is it's actually only 19 cards in here. That's because I really wanted to specify this deck list should have a third copy of this. It is really impactful to have the third copy of this just because of how useful this card is for the deck list. This card is going to be your main removal boss monster and your main searcher. So if you don't have the third copy, it just feels awful. It also means one less search target for your prep, which came up quite a lot. I actually lost a couple of games with this deck list purely because I didn't have a third copy of this to play. So throughout all the replays, you'll see me playing a third copy of the Clausolas, but you should obviously have a third copy of this. It's just a way better card. Especially considering this card is now not only a searcher for monsters, it's also going to be a searcher for spells as well, because this card can search for monsters, meaning it can search for the brand new card Nekroz of Clausolas. This card obviously has the same ritual requirements that all your Nekroz stuff normally has, and it has two effects. You can discard this card to add one Nekroz spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, which is obviously going to be to search your ritual spells, because there are actually no Nekroz trap cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh yet. And the second effect is during either player's turn, you can target one face-up monster on the field that will special summon from the extra deck. Until the end of this turn, that target's attack becomes 0, also its effects are negated. So that's obviously a quick effect. Fantastic turn 1 for this deck list. It doesn't really have a turn 1 currently, or at least the pure builds don't have a turn 1 currently. And also, it has a fantastic search effect that is good for obviously searching spell and trap cards, just the spell cards. And obviously, it now turns this card into a Manju style effect of being able to search for any monster or being able to search for this monster to then search for a spell card. So, makes this into a Manju, which is very important and why I say you should probably be playing 3 of this if you own 3 copies of this. The other new addition is obviously Preparation of Rites. This card can add one level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, then add one ritual spell card from your graveyard to your hand. A pretty decent card in this deck list, and the reason I'm particularly playing it is you'll notice with my particular list, I've cut Manju, I'm not playing it. Because I don't see a reason to really run Manju and ruin the fact of just not having extra normal summon, or have a good normal summon for this deck list, when we already have a Manju style effect, we have an extra searcher in the deck list, and we have a perfectly good spell card that can also search for monsters in this deck list, so I don't really see the point of it. This card is effectively a Manju as well, because this card can search for this card, which, yet again, could search for this card and search for the spell card, so this card is effectively a Manju. So I don't really see the point of playing them. Instead, I think we should go ahead and play Deep Sea Diva, which is a fantastic card as you guys are all aware. Special summons this thing from the deck, activate Territory of the Sarks. We now have this Abyss Dweller on the field, which is fantastic in an Orcust meta where there's tons of Orcust decks going around. It's fantastic versus Rocket as well, when there's Rocket all around the place. It's sort of good against Speed Droid, they have some graveyard effects. It's good against nearly every single top tier meta deck, so there's no real reason not to play such an amazing normal summon in this deck when you don't really need the previous Manju normal summon. I think you should just be playing Diva now. That's my personal take, and yeah, that's what I think you should be doing. As for the rest of the deck though, there isn't really a whole lot of change. It's just sort of standard Nekroz, just with this new Territory of the Shark package and your new Searcher, so without further ado, let's just jump into some gameplay. Alright, today I've got 5 replays to share with you guys, all of which were gathered in Legend, and honestly, today's replays felt pretty goddamn cool, as this deck list has a lot of cool stuff that hopefully you guys will enjoy. So if you guys are wondering about win rates and stuff with this deck list or how well I did, I definitely won way more games than I was losing. I'm pretty sure this streak here was actually a part of a 6-game win streak, which is pretty damn cool. But I will admit, this deck list, it did have quite a few losses. Like, I think before these replays here, there was actually 2 games of losses before this. So, this deck list, I do think it's definitely good enough for King of Games. Might not be good enough for some tournament play, but it's definitely not going to be a top tier deck list. At least I don't think the new additions make it so that it's going to be a top tier deck list. They're just really goddamn nice additions that make it so I can run different variants like this one without having to run Manju anymore. And also, a couple of losses I did have, like I said during the deck list portion, were purely because I didn't have a third copy of this. More specifically, I'd have this card in hand, and I wouldn't be able to search for anything because I'd already used all my dudes up. So, basically this deck list, I think it's easily coggable. It's easily like sort of maybe rogue-ish sort of level deck list, but I wouldn't be screaming top tier anytime soon, basically. It also doesn't help that I think the Speedroid matchup isn't really that great. You have some sort of chain blocking stuff you can sort of do to make it better, but in general, it's not the greatest matchup, and that deck list is currently the most popular deck list in the game, or the most powerful deck list in the game, so. Anyways, alright, so I'm up against a Pendulum player. We're currently on a potential Demotion game. And we are going second. Alright, I think that one of the main strengths of this deck list is a lot of people think you're playing just Standard Water. And Standard Water, there's a lot more ways to sort of, or a lot more people want to disrupt things before you go into like your Xyz plays or whatever. So if I just start with a normal summon of this thing, the chance of my opponent Bookamooning it or using Disruption on it is actually quite high. Because I think I'm going to go for another normal summon. So there's a lot of bait stuff you can do with this deck list. Or likewise, you can go to the Nekroz stuff first, and if you have a Deep Sea Diva follow-up, that's a pretty strong solid follow-up. They use that Disruption on your Nekroz stuff. So I think there's a lot more merit to playing the Deep Sea Diva in this than playing a simple Manju, especially when you don't really need the searches anymore. Alright, so like I said, I normal summon my monster, my opponent immediately thinks I'm playing Water Xyz, removes it, and I'm like, great, now I can just play the game normally. Activate my Kaleidoscope, summoning both my 2 monsters to the field using the Fusion. The other Trishula are actually getting used in this deck list. Summon out my Clausolas, got my dude on field. Then removing both extra deck cards, he has a negate for it, I have a negate for his negate, but he has a negate for my negate, trying to negate his... You get what I mean. But now I can use these two to go into my link, go into my Marincess, Coral, and Enemy, bringing back my Atlatean, and I can normal summon my Diva, and my opponent was having none of this shit. Because yeah, we were going to actually pretty much decimate that field, and he had not a whole lot left, so... Alright, so a pretty good starting replay. Was a Demotion match though, so this deck does have to prove itself. Yeah, like I said, this was part of a 6-game win streak though, so this deck list definitely wins way more than it loses, but I don't think it's the best deck list out there. At least I don't think it's the best archetype out there, I should say. I think this deck list is pretty goddamn good, except for the fact, obviously, I'm currently playing one less of the Ultra Red that I should be playing, which makes quite a big difference. Alright, this guy's playing Rocket. So a lot of top tier deck lists actually in these replays. At least I think there were. Which should really show how good this deck list is. It's definitely like a high level end of Rogue tier, if not trying to sneak its way into tier 3. It wouldn't take much for this to become a tier 3 deck list. It would be like something gets nerfed above it and just instantly goes into the top 3 slots. It wouldn't take much. Alright, Kaleidoscope, going to be summoning out my 2 dudes once again. It's actually such a sick play using Kaleidoscope to get both these cards out at the same time, because your opponent does have something to try to remove it, like this Nightmare thing here is, you can try and negate it with your Clausolas. Unfortunately, my opponent had a warding point, which is pretty bad. That's fine, because he hasn't really got a whole lot left, so he's not likely to kill me this turn. In fact, he just passes, he just assumes he wasn't going to be able to. Book of Moon's going to negate his thing on the way down. Now I can remove it. Summon my monster, Territory of the Sharks, to go into a copy of Abyss Dweller, which is very goddamn good versus Rocket, because Rocket is heavily graveyard dependent when you destroy their cards. So when you Abyss Dweller, you're destroying his monster so he doesn't get to add one back or special someone out. Borrow Launch, putting thing in graveyard, we're Abyss Dwelling at the start of his turn, so we cannot use this thing's effect to come back when he special summons a monster. He goes for a rapid trigger, which, I mean, I'm not sure about this play, buddy. I think he wasn't aware of what would happen. I think he thought his stuff was actually going to revive, because he goes for his Furious, which I think he thought was going to, he whites my field, but He's destroyed both his monsters, and he's under Abyss Dweller, so he doesn't summon anything out. And this thing doesn't re-summon anything from the graveyard or anything, so it's like, he can't use any graveyard effects, so... He just kind of left his field open, so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just... Yeah, just use my graveyard effect, adding my Nekroz thing to hand. I think I actually searched for the wrong ritual spell here, because I already had one of these. I should have searched for the other one, because these are all like once per turn, I'm pretty sure, so... Either way. I'm going to use my material in hand to summon my Nekroz from the grave, bring out my Brionac. It doesn't matter because I have Deep Sea Diva anyway, but I should have had the other ritual spell. Diva, summoning out my dude, and yeah, he just concedes. I was actually umming and ahhing about playing 2 Dwellers in this deck list. The extra deck space is kind of weird, because like, a lot of these are cuttable, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to have them, so I didn't really want to cut anything in particular, but if I was going to cut some, or if I was going to play something else, I definitely try to slide an extra Dweller in here. But all these came up, all of them, including even this little combo here of your Bahamut Shark, bringing out this guy, slamming this on top, actually did come up once. I think I ended up losing that game, but it was very narrowly a loss, so it would have been a nice, sadly didn't get to show that replay, but I do actually like that little bit of a combo in there. Not sure if I like it more than having a second Dweller, though. Alright, it's a shame there's no like good level 8 water synchros that you can actually play in this deck, because obviously you can easily make them, there just isn't any to play, so, yeah. There also isn't a level 12 water monster in the extra deck that I can use to be able to summon out using my Nekroz ritual spell to get out the big Nekroz and the small Nekroz at the same time. So I can only do it for the level 9, I can't bring out the level 9 and the level 3 at the same time. You can do it with the level 6 and level 3, because there's plenty of level 9s to use, but yeah. Alright, so this guy's obviously playing a bit of Trickstar, going for some standardish setup. Brionac searching for a Trishula. Clausolas searching for my ritual spell. Cycle, summoning him straight from my hand, using the resources in hand, bringing out the Trish. And thankfully his back row wasn't anything to negate this. So I can get rid of at least this monster, remove whatever stuff he's got. And for some reason, I'm pretty sure I worked out what this back row was. I was just like, oh, that's 3 monsters on field, nothing activatable, it's probably going to be Needle Sealing, if that's a standard Trickstar back row. If not, it's like a Cosmic or something random. Unfortunately, you couldn't actually do any other summons after that, though, because we'd already used these effects. Alright, there is the Holly. One thing I did notice about this deck list, though, is that this card is not that great in it. It can search for most of the Nekroz monsters, but adding ritual spells back from graveyard doesn't feel very good, as they're all once per turn, so you can't reuse them. And when you do add one back, it means if they wipe your field, you can't use their effects in grave. Not that you'd really need to, because then they're searching for ritual spells anyway, but I know, it's kind of not that much synergy, this card. It's mostly just used for a monster search. There's the Needle Sealing, I don't really care about this. So I can just use my Cycle now, add a ritual spell to hand, and he was just conceding before I even went any further. He knew. Alright, where are we up to? Serena, I think. Alright, this was an Orcust player, I think. A deck list that this is actually, I think, a favoured matchup for. As all your removal is not destruction, so if your opponent has Dingiso on field, you don't care. And of course, we can set up Abyss Dweller because we're playing Territory of the Sharks. Even if we don't open Diva, we can actually use Territory of the Sharks on ritual monsters, which feels a little bit weird, but against Orcust, it can sometimes be worth it. Alright, there's my Abyss Dweller. Clausolas, searching for the Nekroz Cycle, can summon it back from grave using the card in hand. And this will also let me have a search for my Nekroz, one of my Nekroz monsters, we can then use as a search to grab the hand trap. Right, searching for another copy of this, because I'm going to be using one of them to, yeah, grab the hand trap. Which I haven't actually had that much use out of when playing this deck list. I think it's mostly because I'm playing a deck list playing Diva, so my opponent just concedes instantly. That's a standard sort of turn 1 setup if you happen to hit Diva off the start. You haven't got much use out of the hand trap, because I think when I'm playing this Diva variant, we already have like a good turn 1 setup already, so you don't really need to rely on this hand trap to protect you. It's nice to have it though, because if you don't open Diva, your turn 1 really isn't very good with this deck, just that's how Nekroz is. So you're just relying on the hand trap to pass the turn back to you, and hope your opponent doesn't play something like Speedroid and can negate your hand trap. Alright, opponent is playing Hero. This guy has the silver icon. He's a top 100 KC Cup duelist. Oh my goodness. Alright, Polarization, summoning out a copy of Dangerous. Then going into a rank 6. That's a funny looking Destiny hero right there. Dumping to the graveyard and passing the turn. Oh, this replay was sick, actually. I loved this one. Alright, so I activate my Nekroz to summon out a copy of Trishula. Getting a search. He's now going to warning point it. I don't think he realized that this was the other Trishula, because this card literally doesn't work unless he has a card in hand. Like, it literally does nothing. So this guy just wasted a warning point. Top 100 KC Cup duelist, by the way. Just completely wasted a warning point. This card did nothing. Actually nothing. Didn't even have enough attack to beat over this. It was just a dead card, but nice warning point, bro. Alright. Summon my Diva, bringing out a dude from the deck list. He's now going to flip one face down, and normally in this position, you'd be like, ah, shit, my turn's basically done. This thing's being warning pointed. I can't use Territory of the Sharks to go into an Xyz here. What could I possibly do? Well, how about I use Trishula, the card that's normally only used to summon out with Kaleidoscope to summon out your 2 rituals, actually got used here to clear my field. This used to be a card that was played, like, actually regularly. A while ago, when Floodgate Trapper was a lot more meta relevant, people would actually play this to unclog their fields, and it got used here with the exact same reasoning. Someone flip my monster face down, I'll just wipe my whole field, summon out a big dragon, and now I can ritual summon using my materials engraved to summon out my Brionac. Actually a sick replay. It's very rare you get to see this card actually get to see play currently, so. Alright, sending that shit, and that's lethal on field. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you don't, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.